Hello, Greek Exegesis of John students. It's great to see you all again. I will give you a more formal welcome to the class later on in just a few weeks here, but I wanted to make some comments about the required and the optional texts for this class so you know why those texts are being assigned, and you also can be informed about which optional texts you choose to acquire for the class. So I'd encourage you to open up the syllabus and turn to page 5 here, where I have some pictures of our different required texts, and I'm going to physically hold them up and show them to you as I make a couple of different comments about them. So the first one on the list is Elements of Biblical Exegesis by Dr. Michael J. Gorman. This is going to serve as our base text for the sort of first few weeks, especially of the class. This is really very much a manual to doing biblical exegesis and interpretation. And as manuals go, it's not necessarily the most thrilling or exciting book you will ever read, but it contains really, really good practical information about how to do exegesis, about the process of doing exegesis, which will be, of course, essential for your success in this class. The next one is by Dr. Joanne Brandt. This is a commentary in the Paideia series. This is a commentary that all students will acquire, whether they are in the Greek exegesis version of the class or the English exegesis version of the class. So once we get into the Gospel of John, which will happen in about week 3 or week 4, this will start to be the text where we're sort of all on the same page, where all English exegesis and all Greek exegesis students are reading from this book. And getting information about the Gospel of John that is the same. There will be other commentaries where you're going to be getting different kinds of information about the Gospel of John. This is another text by which we will all get on the same page. Dr. Francis Taylor Ginch's Encounters with Jesus, Studies in the Gospel of John. What this book does is sort of gives very brief introductions to different sections of the Gospel of John. So this will be sort of our first encounters with various sections of text in the Gospel of John. And then with our commentaries, we'll go a little bit deeper. So this is sort of the introduction overview text. Commentaries are going to take us a little bit deeper. Next is a couple resources related to Greek in particular. So the first one is this intermediate to advanced grammar called It's Still Greek to Me, and it is written by Dr. David Allen Black, who was the author, or who is the author, of the text that we used in the Greek 1 class. So what this Greek book is going to do is give you more sort of categories for some of the different things that we learn, different grammatical categories for the tenses, the moods, the various cases in Greek. So it's going to be a tool, a reference tool by which we can sort of categorize different things we find in the grammar in the Gospel of John, and then also in other New Testament texts. So this will be sort of our base level Greek exegesis book that we engage together, and a tool by which a tool that we regularly use to sort of understand the Greek grammar of the Gospel of John. The next two resources on that page there are both resources that you should have already acquired for the Greek 1 class. The first is the Reader's Edition of the Greek New Testament. We started to use this at the end of the Greek 1 class. You started getting your feet wet a little bit more with translation of particularly 1 John for the final exam. And we're going to be doing more of that kind of thing, more direct engagement with our Reader's Edition of the Greek New Testament for this particular class. So if you did not acquire that resource for the Greek 1 class, you all probably did. If you did not acquire it now. And then the last one on the list is the Greek 1 textbook that we used. And I don't have it with me, I apologize. Learning New Testament Greek, also by David Allen Black. And that won't ever be assigned, but that is sort of just for your reference. All right, moving over to the next page, we have some recommended texts. And these are all recommended texts that are specifically geared to engaging Greek. So the first one is this massive, very thick lexicon. A lexicon is, if you will remember, a Greek dictionary. You will see Kurds up here because I inherited this lexicon from Father Kurds. This lexicon is sort of an essential resource for advanced study of the Greek New Testament, but it is not necessarily pivotal, or it is not won't necessarily be instrumental for your success in this particular class. So I encourage you to sort of be on the lookout for it. If you can afford to buy it, I'd encourage you to do so, but it is an expensive text. It's one of those that I'm always sort of on the lookout for at used bookstores, at book sales, these kinds of things, where you can get it for less than the $150 price tag that you'll find on it new on Amazon. The next one I also do not have a physical copy of because I use a digital copy of it. It's Bruce Metzger's A Textual Commentary on the Greek New Testament. And what this resource does is it really explains what are called textual variants in the Greek New Testament. We'll talk more about textual variants in the course of the semester, but it sort of gives you an explanation about what different Greek manuscripts have, what the reading is, or what the Greek is when there are differences between the manuscripts. So it'll sort of lay out these manuscripts have these words, these manuscripts have these words, and this is why we think that these ones are closer to what John or what any other New Testament author originally wrote. So it gives you a very clear explanation of what is called the apparatus in the Greek New Testament, which also gives that sort of same information, but in a very different kind of way. So again, this one is not essential to your success in this class, but it will be helpful for your success in this class, and it will also be helpful for you understanding how different manuscripts attest to different readings or attest to different passages in different kinds of ways. So this resource really clearly lays out those things. And the third and final one is called Going Deeper with New Testament Greek. You can see that this one is, it's a little bit thicker. Let me grab the other one here. It's a little bit thicker than the required Greek grammar for this particular class. So it's about double the size, which means it has about double the depth and double the information. It does, this one does something very similar to what this one does, but in a deeper way, with more examples, with more explanation. So you might find as you come to the Greek, particularly if you're really interested in doing sort of the deep level engagement with the Greek, you might find that this one, the explanations in it are sometimes a little bit surface level. So this third recommended resource will be a resource that gives you a little bit more information. So it's going to be similar information to what's in here, but just given in a more fulsome or a deeper manner. And lastly, I have 4 different commentary options for you here. So the idea with the optional commentaries is that everyone serves as a representative for one of these commentators. So you are essentially bringing that commentator's voice into the class by reading their perspective on various interpretive and exegetical issues. So there are 4 different options here, and I would ask you to choose at least one of them. You, of course, can choose more than one, but I will ask that you serve as the representative for one in particular. So the first one is the word, this doesn't, nothing on the front of it, doesn't really give you a good sense of what's going on here. This is the Word Biblical Commentary, the second edition. I would encourage you to try and find the second edition by Dr. Beasley Murray. The Word Biblical Commentary series tends to be a touch more conservative in its outlook, both theologically and ideologically, but it's really, really good on the languages. It engages the Greek very, very, very closely, and it is sort of considered a very scholarly commentary series. The next one here is Dr. Raymond Brown's. That name should maybe sound familiar to you from previous classes. Raymond Brown was a sort of foremost scholar on the Gospel of John. And this commentary series and the Anchor, or this commentary, these 2 volumes and the Anchor series are a little bit dated now, so that they were written a while ago, but they're still sort of classic commentaries. They're going to engage very, very deeply. This commentary series and the next one tend to be a little bit more progressive in their ideological outlooks, ideological and theological outlooks. But so this one, the Anchor Bible series, and also the next one, the Hermenea series, are sort of the cream of the crop with respect to academic scholarly commentaries on any book of the Bible. So these two on the Gospel of John are going to be sort of some of the best on the Gospel of John, even though both of them are a little bit dated. So the next one I also do not have a physical copy of because I use a digital copy for this one, but it's from the Hermenea commentary series by Dr. Robert Funk. Like the Anchor Bible commentary series, it's going to sort of be top of the line as far as scholarship goes, and it's going to be a little bit more progressive or liberal in its ideological and theological outlook. And the last one is the newest of all of the commentaries on this list. It's from the Zondervin Exegetical Commentary on the New Testament. This one is by Dr. Edward Klink III. Fairly thick commentary as well. And this one is the most conservative in its theological and ideological outlook, as are most resources put out by Zondervin Publishing. But what I really like about this particular commentary series is the way that the commentary is divided between historical comments and literary comments, and it presents the Greek text with the commentary on it. So you'll get the Greek text, you'll get a translation, and then you'll get comments on the Greek in particular. So the organization of that one is really well done. And again, it's a bit more conservative in its outlook, which may be a reason that you choose to acquire it, either because your own outlook sort of jibes with that, or because you want to expand your conversation partners and maybe engage with a sort of a community or with a reader that you would not normally choose to. And if that is the case, I encourage you to do that kind of thing. I think it's very helpful for us to read people, read authors with whom we wouldn't tend to agree. So if you have any questions about any of these resources, about the required text, about the optional text, about sort of what they are like or what I mean by optional, by all means, feel free to send me an email. And in the meantime, I'll look forward to formally welcoming you to the course in just a few weeks here.